Hello, and welcome to Stretching the Word. I'm your host, Sister Valerie, and not today, devil, just not this year. Lately, I've been reading the weather report, and it says possibility of thunderstorms. Last 3 days, I read the weather report, it says possibility of thunderstorms. Well, just like there's a possibility of thunderstorms naturally, there's a possibility of thunderstorms in our lives. We don't just tiptoe through the tulips now that we're, saved, sanctified, have the Holy Spirit. We don't just tiptoe through the tulips. Our life is not, smooth as glass. As some people, oh yeah, once I become saved, once I receive salvation, oh, my life is going to be smooth. Oh, wrong. Because sometimes there's a possibility of thunderstorms in our lives. Now, we can cause thunderstorms to come by our disobedience. In the Bible, there was a great big storm that Jonah caused on himself. Why did Jonah cause the storm on himself? Because Jonah was disobedient. Does that ring a bell? How sometimes God tells us to go right, we gonna take the left side of the road. Because, sometimes we just feel like doing it our way. But when we do it our way, it doesn't work out well for us. So we get all of this turbulence, we get all of this drama, we get all of this problems in our lives, we get all of these storms in our lives. Why? Because we were disobedient. So when you have thunderstorms in your life, when you have storms, when you have turbulence, when you have stuff that's coming up against you and you're being bombarded, go back and check and see if you brought that storm, if you caused that rain to fall on your own head. Now, sometimes, and we are going to be tested, our faith is going to be tested. They were on the boat. The storm came up. Jesus was sleeping. They got scared. And I understand sometimes we get overwhelmed with situations, circumstances, things that are coming up against us. The waves, they're coming up against us. We get a little scared, and we be like, oh, Jesus, Lord, where you at? Where you at, Jesus? Where you at? But then Jesus never leaves us. He's right there all the time. Sometimes our faith is on trial to see what we're going to do. If we're going to have just a little bit of faith and speak to that storm. But then sometimes there are storms that only Jesus can calm for us. Now, Jesus knows the difference as to when he needs to wake up out of sleep, that he never sleeps. But like he was sleeping on the boat and they got fearful, they went and called on Jesus. Well, that's what he wants us to do. Even though he's not sleeping, but he wants us to call on him sometimes. And not try to fix it ourselves, not try to go through the storm on the boat, without a paddle. Sometimes we are in storms that the enemy has created against us. And he wants us to yet have that faith. But he wants us to continue to look unto him who is the author and finisher of our faith. Sometimes Jesus wants us to call on him because we're in a storm that only he can calm. And we have to keep our eyes on him. We have to keep our eyes on him. And after we've done all that we can do, see, you just can't, every time a storm come up in your life, you just can't get to holler, oh, Jesus, 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 Jesus. Sometimes you have to take that authority because he's giving you that authority. So sometimes when that storm comes, sometimes we have to take that authority over that storm. And sometimes if we've caused the storm on ourselves, then we have to endure it with patience. So we have to know the difference in the storms. But remember, Jesus never leaves us or forsakes us. But if we keep our eyes on him, and if we continue to call on him, he will let us know. And he will deliver us out of every storm.